Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Josey. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Josey. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Josey, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is the importance of staying educated on market trends. Let's get real. If you're playing the real estate game, you need to know the rules as they are being written. The market is always evolving, and the investors who thrive are the ones who make learning a lifelong habit. Here are 5 actionable tips to keep your knowledge sharp and your deals ahead of the curve. Number 1, make market updates part of your routine. Block out time each week to review local sales data, trends, and news. A little consistency goes a long way. Number 2, plug into industry podcasts and YouTube channels like RAIN. There's a gold mine of free info out there. Listen while you drive, work out, even mow the lawn. Turn downtime into learning time. Number 3, network with other investors. Join masterminds, Facebook groups, or local meetups. Hearing what others are seeing in real time can give you a serious edge. Number 4, always ask questions. Don't be shy. Reach out to the experts, lenders, or seasoned pros in your network. Curiosity is your secret weapon. Number 5, sign up for webinars and workshops. Stay on the lookout for online events and classes. Even a single new insight can spark your next big move. So remember, badass investors never let the market leave them behind. Stay hungry, stay humble, and keep soaking up that knowledge, because in this business, what you know today can make you money tomorrow. Now on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us a repeat guest, a total powerhouse in the real estate world, John Blackburn. With nearly 2 decades of hands-on experience and a solid background in finance, John has made it his mission to help people retire in 5 years instead of 50 by unlocking the true potential of real estate investing. He's personally bought and sold over 1,700 properties and has guided hundreds of students to financial independence through strategic investing. Whether you're looking to master real estate coaching, finance, redevelopment, wholesaling, rentals, or just want to boost your financial literacy, John's got you covered. His motto, if you aren't growing, you're dying. And he lives by it every day, empowering others to take control over their financial future. So if you're ready to level up your investing game and connect with a like-minded entrepreneur, you are in the right place. It's my pleasure to have him back on the show. So welcome, John Blackburn. I feel like I'm going Oprah with that now. John Blackburn.
You are. You get a car. You get a car. You get a car. Everybody gets a car.
I am so thrilled to have you, and you are my first episode in my season 6. I've gone 5 years, everybody. So, John,
I'm honored.
John, you are a powerhouse in this industry, and I can let it out of the bag now. I am coaching for John's program, and I absolutely love it. I'm a former school teacher, so I get to put my teacher hat back on, but more so I get to be around his badassery every day. So enough about me. John, give us a little background on you. How did you get involved in real estate?
Well, first and foremost, we are the lucky ones at Rental Property Pro to have you as a coach and a trainer. You bring so much experience, so much energy, as everyone who listens to this knows. And I know my students can be more excited and happy to have you on board. So thank
Thank
you
you.
for joining the team.
I'll pay you
Well,
later.
all right, perfect. Appreciate it. What was the question?
How did you get involved in real estate?
How'd I get involved in real estate? Oh, someone sold me a dream and I was hooked. Um, to be honest with you, it was one of my best friends in high school at the time, a kid by the name of Chris. His mom owned a mortgage company. His dad owned like a franchise title company, and they were trying to put a real estate agency in there. So it was like this one-stop shop. And, like 2005, around that time, like, real estate was the bee's knees, if you will.
Hmm.
And he went to go get his real estate license, and he was like, "Man, come get my real estate license. I'm going to work for my mom and dad. Let's do that." And next thing I know, I'm in college, right? So every Saturday morning, I'm hungover as can be. I am in real estate class, like just trying to get through it, taking, notes that are worthless. And I got my real estate license. And next thing you know, driving people around on Sundays showing houses.
Nice. And I don't know this answer, but what was your first flip like? Or
Oh, you
did you go
ready?
straight
You
into,
ready?
did you go straight to rentals or did you do a flip?
No. So what I did was I was a traditional real estate agent for a while.
Okay.
And then the market fell apart. And once the market fell apart, I had that conversation with myself of like, do I want to continue in real estate or not? And I really did. And that's where, I kind of went out and got my first kind of dose of real estate education. I met and found fortune builders, which unfortunately they're not in business anymore, but amazing, 10, 15-year experience with them. And that's how I got into real estate investing. But my first flip. Are we ready? $17,000 loss.
Woo,
Real
well, that's
winner
not too
right out
bad.
of the gate. No,
That's
it
not too
wasn't. It
bad.
wasn't helpful. The school of hard knocks in that sense. Didn't put an air conditioner in where it should have had air conditioning. The lot was not flat where the rest of the lot should have been flat, and I should have put a new kitchen in, and I didn't. So those are my three learning lessons.
And, a lot of people will educate themselves. I also did fortune builders. That's actually where I first met you. And they feel like they got to learn everything before they do it. But it's that first experience that teaches you all the lessons. And
Yeah.
that's also part of Rental Property Pro is learning as you go. And I think that's so very important. You push people right out of the gate and to start getting close to that retirement in 5 years as opposed to 50. So let's
Yep.
get into your coaching program because you are a born educator in my mind. You're having come from another education program, which was fantastic. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but they have shut
Absolutely.
down. But your systems, your tutorials, you have not classes, but you have calls almost every day of the week, and it
Mhm.
is just a really all-inclusive program. But starting that coaching journey, at what point did you realize you wanted to start coaching others on your own? Because that's a huge step.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably, I mean, I probably realized it 2 or 3 years before I actually started Rental Property Pro, right? You need a couple years to at least mull on it, right? And I just, I was in the education world with fortune builders and my own real estate investing business. And, you know, everyone gets into real estate not usually because they want to be on HGTV, right? They don't get into real estate because managing contractors sounds like a fun thing to do, right? You get into real estate because you want to retire, right? You want financial freedom, right? And I was like, man, we could cut out this middleman of like fixing and flipping and wholesaling houses, right? Like we don't need to do that shit, right? We could just go straight to the rental property piece.
Right.
And rental properties has always been something that I've really focused on in my investment career. And so that was the goal is like, hey, how do we, find this niche of just helping people and especially people that are working a 9 to 5 or business owner and they want to invest in real estate, but they want to do all the fix and flip and wholesale. How do we just cut through the chase and get to the good stuff, which is, owning rental properties long term, building wealth and building a legacy. So that was how I came up with it. It's how I found it. But yeah, 2 or 3 years before I actually started was when I started thinking about the process and wanting to get into it. Yeah.
And it is a huge task to take on to start a coaching program. So kudos to you, because it is so many people try and fail in the coaching industry, and you have
Oh,
just
yes.
been extremely successful. So what do you think is the number one benefit that the students of Rental Property Pro gain from working with you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I'm biased, obviously, but it's the coaching that we have, the one-on-one coaching, right? We do 9 group coaching calls every single week, along with all the students having the opportunity to have one-on-one coaching calls, right? I just did a student spotlight call this morning with one of my students, Jackie Liu. She's on her second or third rental property at this point in time, and
Nice.
just everything she talked about. She's like, "Oh, I got on the phone with Tim, and Tim helped me, figure out when to get the appraisal done for the refinance." And I was talking with Tim, and he helped me, work through managing rates. It's just like, you know, you're always going to have questions. You're never going to know everything. I mean, I still have surprises on a daily basis in real estate, right? The ability to pick up the phone and be like, I have no idea what this means or what this is or how to move through this. Help me, right? And that to me is really where we stand out versus just doing group calls, just having videos to watch. It's like there's someone on the other end of that phone that will be there to support you, which I love.
And it's unlimited coaching calls,
It is. Yep.
which is rare, because where I came from, you only had a certain amount and they were like
Yep.
gold, and you wanted to, and
Gold.
people saved them
Yeah.
till the end. But I
Yep.
think it's so beneficial for them to just be able to go on there, schedule a call with whoever's available. And I need a second pair of eyes on this property that I'm about to write an offer. So yes,
Yep.
definitely. I think that's what sets it apart. So I want to dive a little bit into actual rentals, because this is your second time on the show. And
Yep.
the one thing you taught me the last time, gosh, that was a couple years ago, this was such a gem in my brain. It's so silly, it's so minimal, but is to take that kind of the clear bin that you have, that you buy at like storage places or Target, whatever, and you put it in
Yeah.
underneath the sink, and you attach it underneath the
Glue it.
drain.
Yeah.
And then you said, oh, the renters think, oh, how nice, he gave me a little place to put my cleaning supplies, but it's actually because that thing's going to drip at some point.
Leak
So
at some point. Yeah, exactly.
so that saves your cabinets. And I'm like, that is such a gem. That's so little,
Yeah.
but it's something that I apply still to my rentals to this day. But what are some misconceptions about people owning rental properties that you wish more understood?
Oh man, like, in the rental world, I think the 2 or 3 biggest misconceptions out there right now is that um, you know, everything has to always be about cash flow, right? Which is not true. Number two, in my personal opinion, right? I always like to say it's not true, prove me wrong. And then interest rates, right? Oh, we can't buy rental properties because of interest rates. Or the third is, oh, the BRRRR strategy doesn't work anymore, right?
Right.
Like those are the 3 things that I hear on a day-to-day basis. And, it's just, I'm like, how can you say that, right? Like me and, 700 students are doing it on a day-to-day basis. Which what more of a sample size do you need, right?
Exactly. And I was just interviewing a gentleman earlier today, and he started buying rentals in 1978. And talking about, you
I
mentioned
love it.
interest rates, his interest rate was over 20
Yeah.
over 20%. And I was like, oh my goodness. And he made a good point. Every time is a good time to buy. Just
Yep.
you have to know where, and that goes back to the badassery bestowment of watch your market trends, etc. So one thing that we do in Rental Property Pro is you don't necessarily tell people to purchase in their backyard. We got students in California. We got students all over the country who live in renter-friendly states. And so you have certain areas that, because you stay on top of market trends, that are better to invest in, and you teach people how to go after zip codes and all that fun stuff. So give a quick little breakdown of how that works, because I am nervous buying out of my little
Yeah.
comfort zone. And, you are definitely teaching me to push away from that comfort zone, and why it's Because I'm looking at these deals these students have. I'm like, damn, I got to get on some of this. So
Yeah.
explain where that thought process came from.
Yeah, I mean, historically, I mean, I've lived in Southern California for 17 years, right? And I knew I wanted to invest in real estate, and you're not going to do that in rental properties in Southern California, where the median home price is $850,000, right? So, what's the option? Well, the option is to go outside of your backyard. And, for most of my students or most investors, that's going to be true. Now, some people get lucky and their backyard is just a kick-ass rental market. And
Right.
at that point in time, awesome, you lucked out, just buy everything you can in your backyard. But I'd say 90% of the time that's not true, and we have to go somewhere else. And you know, there's research that you have to do. For me, I use basically what I would call six different specific markers for a given state or city, right? So that I'm going to research, make sure they fall within inside of certain parameters, and then make the decision on, okay, is that a good place to invest or not, right? The property is usually kind of the last piece of the puzzle, right? Because if I know I can find a state and city that match these six parameters, the property's going to be there, right? So it just comes down to making sure the city matches that. And then at that point in time, it's setting up a good team. And what's been great with everything being coming so like automated and virtual and so on and so forth is the marketplace has really responded. And what I mean by that is like, property management just used to be property management, right? Like, here's my house, it's done, it's ready to be
Right.
rented, manage my property, right? Now, what we're seeing is all of these property managers are like, man, if we really want to stay in the game and we want to attract clients, most of these clients are outside of the marketplace, and they need a more full service approach. The last two property managers I've interviewed in the last couple of days, I'm always interviewing property managers, have full send construction crews as part, just not like I'm going to do a $2,000 or $3,000 property turn. Like, they're ready to do a $50,000 renovation,
Nice.
because the way they do business now is like, somebody from out of town finds a house that needs renovated, and if they want the management business, now they're just going to make money on the construction as well too. And it's so nice to be able to, as an investor now, instead of knowing not only do I have to find a deal, analyze the deal, make the offer, and manage the construction, all you have to do is get to like buy the house, and then everything else can be handed off, which is absolutely amazing. And these teams are doing an even better job of doing like line item pricing, right? So like the
Ooh.
one team, they just send it over to me. They're like, if the house needs a new roof, it's $7,500. If it needs a bathroom, it's 4 grand. If it needs a kitchen, it's 8, right? And now I can just analyze the rental property based on the photos, and I know how much they're going to charge me. I can make offers. It's a really awesome speed implementation. So the market is following the trends, which just means we're doing the right thing, right?
And even realtors in that area, in certain areas, if you can find one who can send these deals to your
Oh,
inbox every day, I mean, just get on their alert lists and have them put in some keywords, certain things that you're looking for, and that takes away the having to dig through as well. So I just I have to step out of my comfort zone, but I am
yeah.
totally going for it. So, what are some of the hot markets right now?
My favorite markets are always going to be in the Midwest, right?
Okay.
Lower price points, higher rents, usually property taxes and insurance are extremely low. So that's what provides a lot of the cash flow, right? So, if you were to say, John, what do you think are some of the hottest markets? Memphis, Tennessee has always been my favorite market. Hands down, it's where I buy most of my rental properties. And Memphis also encompasses like northern Mississippi and the eastern part of Arkansas. Little Rock, Arkansas, it's the state capital. It's always going to get all the money first, but still all the home pricing is super reasonable and higher rents. A random place is Milwaukee, and both cities, north and south of Milwaukee. It's a really, really strong market. Northwest Indiana, right? Valparaiso, LaPorte, South Bend, Gary, all of those areas. That's a really, really strong market. You're seeing a huge exodus out of Chicago. They're building a fast rail from like Gary into Chicago, so people are moving
Nice.
into Indiana. And then, traditionally a lot of Ohio markets as well too. There's older housing stock out there, which I'm not a big fan of, so I try to stay away from it. But there's pretty strong markets in like Cleveland and stuff like that. But Midwest, pretty much you really can't go wrong in the Midwest and in most cities. Yeah.
And can you still find, say, the 1% rule in those, or do you throw the 1% rule out the window?
First and foremost, I throw the 1% rule out the window. I don't like it. And I'll give you an example why, right? Every property needs to be evaluated for what it is, right? Because the 1% rule, what it doesn't take into consideration, it doesn't take into property taxes, insurance, HOA, or anything else, right? So I'll give you an example, right? I own rental properties in Connecticut. If I bought a rental property in Connecticut based on the 1% rule, just the 1% rule, and I evaluated properties in 1% rule, I would lose money every single month,
Wow.
right? Why? Because property taxes and insurance are insane in Connecticut, right? But so I need to be at like 1.5, 2% rule to make it work in Connecticut, right? Now in like Memphis, Tennessee, I can be at like the 0.8%. I don't even need to be at 1% to make that thing cash flow look sexy and own
Nice.
it. So I think you're doing yourself a disservice from doing the 1% rule. Now, to answer your question straight up, can we still hit the 1% rule? We certainly can. Yeah.
All right, very good. Um, so I've been going through the what are the modules, I guess you call them,
Yeah.
and you had one that really struck me, and it was you only need one rental property because you have
Yep.
two major expenses in your life. So can you, I just, if there's listeners out there who are kind of on the fence about getting a rental property, just listening to this, I went, "Ah, light bulb moment." So
Yep.
explain that story because this is such a great module.
Yeah. When you think about owning real estate, everyone kind of focuses on the cash flow, which is great, but really it's the asset. You own the asset because the asset's reusable, right? The cash flow is not reusable. The asset's reusable. And what I was trying to do when I came up with this strategy was I was trying to solve for how can a new investor do the minimum amount of work and have the biggest amount of effect on their life for generations to come, right? So I was like, man, what's the average American's largest expenses in life, right? Two largest expenses are going to be at the beginning of your life and the end of life. One is going to be education, college for most part, and number two is going to be end of life care, right? Moving into assisted living, healthcare, all those. Those are going to be your two biggest expenses. And I was like, how can we solve those, right? So we're just gonna use an example, right? Let's say we have a kid, and as a parent we buy a rental property and we're getting $300 a month of cash flow from that rental property. Well, we're not, we can barely pay our cell phone bill with $300 a month. So screw the monthly cash flow, right? All
Okay.
we're going to do is we're going to take that $300 a month and we're going to just throw it back at the mortgage every single month, right? So the average kid goes to college at 18, right? We'll have that rental property paid off in 15 years, right? So now we have this free and clear asset, right? Yes, we have increased cash flow because it's free and clear, but guess what? We have a reusable asset, right?
Hmm.
Time for college, right? Well, we could go out and we could buy all these student loans that we're going to defer interest on for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years that we're going to need to pay interest on whenever they're out of college. Or we could just make our renter pay for college, right? We refinance the house, pull the equity out, pay for college. Guess what? The renter's paying the mortgage, which is technically our college tuition, and we're still getting that $300 a month, right? And then we just recycle that strategy again, right? And I actually use this strategy for my grandmother is we start using that $300 a month or whatever the cash flow is at that point in time to pay the home off again. We're paying it off again because we're going to reuse this asset, right? And now it's time where, you get to make a choice, right? You have assisted living or you have medical expenses or whatever. And, you either have really good insurance or you're going to be a burden on your family or
Right.
you got to figure it out, right? And
Right.
we're in the figure it out mode, right? And my grandmother was in the same situation. We had to have, I think it was $40,000 sitting in a bank account in order to even apply to
Oh,
an assisted living home. And like this is in a part of the country, in a part of Pennsylvania, where the average household, not individual, the average household income was $36,000.
oh,
So who has 36 grand sitting in a bank?
wow.
Right. And so we refinanced the property that she owned. We put the money in the bank account. She got accepted. We put a renter in the house. The renter was paying for her long-term care and medical bills. And now you have this property that you can hand off to your kids, right? Your kids get, right? So it's just, we solve multiple problems. And that's just from one rental property.
One rental property. And I really love that story because it really puts it in perspective in real world situations. And it's so true because, I had a music scholarship to college, but I still have friends that are paying down college
Yeah.
debt and that is nuts, all of that. So
Yeah.
now that the listener's like, all right, I can do this, what do you think are, or what do you recommend are the first steps for someone wanting, besides getting into an education program, but what
Yeah.
are their first steps to acquiring a rental property?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, education first. You need someone in your corner to look over
Yes.
your shoulder. There, and I'm not saying this because I own an education company. I'm saying this because I lost $17,000 on my first real estate deal, right? Because,
Right.
if someone was looking over my shoulder, they were like, "John, you got to put air conditioning in it. You got to put a new kitchen in it. That lot is not flat enough like all the other lots." You're right. Like that's why I'm saying this, speaking from experience of hard knocks, right? So, have someone looking over your shoulder. And then from there, it's just take action, right? Like the top three steps right out of the gate are find a really good market, create as many relationships as you can with wholesalers or agents in that market because you only have a set of eyes, right? We want 50 sets of eyes looking at properties for you so that they're filling up your inbox every single month, right? So we have finding a market, making connections, and the third is making offers, right? I tell every one of my students, set a KPI, key performance indicator for yourself every week. That is a goal, right? I send 5 offers every week, you know, hell or high water, right? If it's 4 o'clock on a Friday and I've only gotten 2 offers out, I'm sitting in that chair till I get the next three, right? And that's finding that consistency will get you the deal that you want and with the numbers that you want. So those are the top three things. And then from there, obviously, there's more details, but that's the top three.
Excellent. And I love the KPIs. And that's also something I learned from Fortune Builders. And Vance and I, my husband and I, we had you're talking about 5 offers a week. We did 4 offers a month. Like we were going slow
Yep.
in the beginning. We were still working our W-2s. And we walked this one property and it was the end of the month. And I was like, oh, it's priced too high. I'm like, but we needed to make one more offer that month. And it was just one of those things. So we threw a lowball offer out there and they accepted. I'm
Got
like, shit.
accepted.
I'm like, shit. I didn't even take a picture in that place. So we had to
Yep.
go back. We didn't have an exit strategy. We didn't know. It was just one of those things, but it became our first pop the top property. We made a very pretty penny off that. We popping the top, meaning we removed the roof, added a second floor, even went out back a little bit more. And it was such a great experience. We met an amazing GC through that project. So excellent advice. Write that offer. The worst thing they could do is say no, and then you just start your KPIs over again. So I love that.
Yeah.
Now, Rental Property Pro is clearly focused on rentals, but what if there's listeners out there that want to learn maybe a little bit about wholesaling, about Airbnbs, about
Yep.
flipping houses?
Yeah, for sure. And, just to note on what you said, always make the offer, right? I
Always do.
don't care. I don't care how
Oh,
bad it might feel. Always make, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten properties $100,000 under a list,
yep.
$150,000 on a list. Just right the, I just literally got a property I think it was last week. It was last week, $175,000 under list price. Just make the offer,
Make the offer. The
right?
worst thing they could do is
Like,
say no. And by the way,
yeah,
we had a call on Monday, setting a goal for everyone for the week. And you said, I challenge everyone to write an offer this week. And you said,
yeah,
Jen, you have a closing going on. So that can be, and I'm like, we wrote an offer last night, by the way, just so you know, I kept my goal as well
good work.
and only 40K under asking. But anyway,
It's okay.
I wrote
That's
the
okay.
offer. All right. So
Good.
Rental Property Pro, do they
Yep.
dive into wholesaling at all? Airbnb, fix and flip?
Great question. So, yes to all the above, right? The baseline of the program is rental properties, right? But the reason why I started with that is because we can turn every rental property into a flip, right? That's the easy part. It's hard to turn every flip into a rental property, right?
Right.
So, let's focus on what's going to get us to our goal. And that goal is financial freedom,
Right.
right? And if at some point in time you're like, man, I'd just like to sell this and make 30 grand, you can sell it and make 30 grand. The finding, the analyzing, the construction process, all of that is exactly the same. The only thing that might change is, all right, we might put granite instead of Formica countertops in it, right? It's like those are like that's the minor things that we make adjustments in. But the consensus and the process is the same. And then at the end, instead of putting up for rent, you put it up for sale, right? The numbers will work, which are great. So from fix and flips for sure. From an Airbnb standpoint, right, we have you as a coach, we have Ricardo as a coach, we got lots of Airbnb coaches in there. I actually personally just did my very first Airbnb, so that is something that we teach, coach, and train on as well too. And happy to support anyone in any area of real estate for sure. Yep.
Very good. And as you have seen students going through,
hmm
besides not redoing the kitchen or putting in an air conditioning unit, what mistakes do you see students making over and over? Not necessarily
Oh yeah.
students, but we'll say newer investors. What mistakes do you see them make over and over?
Oh, easiest thing in the world, especially if they're renovating properties, is over renovating houses, right? And I
Thank
was the
you.
I was the biggest culprit of it too, right? I can't imagine how many hundreds of thousands of dollars I've lost over the last decade over renovating houses, right? You know,
I,
everybody
I
wants to
tell,
be on HGTV, right? Yeah, good.
by the way, I tell students all the time, you are not going to live there.
Yeah.
That's the one thing, because they're like, oh no, I would want this. You are not living there. Stop. You have to do it for the masses. Anyway, I cut you off, but HGTV, go ahead.
Yeah, and it goes for rentals, it goes for fix and flips, it goes for everything, right? It's like, my team and I, like before, whenever we're doing comps, whenever we're, getting ready to start the renovation project, when we're, talking with our contractors, building out our scopes of work, all we're doing is looking at the comps, right? Like what sold at the value that we want to sell our house at. And then we just copy it, right? If they don't
Right.
have new floors, we don't put new floors in, right? If they don't have brand new bathrooms, we don't put brand new bathrooms in, right? Just because you want to renovate it doesn't mean you have to renovate the whole thing, right? So pay attention to your comps.
I love that. And I just was on a coaching call this week with a brother and sister team in Rental Property Pro there in Texas. And we were looking at a condo through Investor Lift. And,
Yep.
they're like, oh, there's popcorn ceiling. We'll remove the popcorn ceiling. I'm like, what? You have to look at the other comps. If all the other comps have popcorn ceiling, you leave the popcorn ceiling.
Yeah, leave it.
They had horrible cabinets in there, like just chunky looking things. But the other ones that we looked at, the comps, they all of them just painted them white. I'm like, that's all you got to
Yep.
do. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Very, very good. All right. Moving over to this motto that you have: if you aren't growing, you're dying. So how do you keep yourself and the community at Rental Property Pro motivated in those inevitable ups and downs in this industry?
Oh, it's you have it all the time, right? The
Right.
ups and downs. And there's a few ways to kind of sustain those ups and downs. Well, number one is you have to be very, very certain in why you're doing this, right? Everybody talks about their why, right? For me, I have an innate desire and want to be successful, right? But at the same time, like, family is the big reason why, I can deal with the ups and downs and the stress and, all of that, right? And two is community, right? Which is a big proponent of what, Rental Property Pro is here to do. And what I wanted to create was not only can we celebrate our wins, right? Like, hey, look at this house or that house or this project that I'm doing or whatnot. But when shit gets tough, like, reach out, like, hey, like, man, I'm having a rough day. I just put in 25 offers and none of them got, accepted. Like, I feel like I'm, beating my head against the wall. And it's just like, keep moving forward. Right. And so, having a really strong why and having a support system, whether it is a community like Rental Property Pro, or it's a best friend, or it's your spouse, or what have you, that's really going to allow you to push through all the ups and downs that come with real estate, which is, there's a lot of them.
What's funny is, you're talking about pick up the phone and talk to someone. Whenever I have a
Yeah.
problem property, I call Coach Rob, Rob
Perfect.
McIntosh, who's one
Oh,
of your
Rob.
coaches.
Yeah. He'll slow
Okay.
it down and make it good. Yep.
He has been through everything. So he is just one
Oh,
of those gems in life that, is someone that I lean on still to this day. And I can't call him anything but
yep.
Coach Rob, which is so funny.
Yep.
But so for you, who you've created this amazing community, what is the most rewarding part for you when your students achieve this financial freedom?
Oh man, it's just, you know, every student's success is their own success, right? It's
Hmm.
like, me, I don't think any of our coaches, ever really kind of see ourselves as like being the ones that got them that success, right? So,
Right.
seeing them realize something that they accomplished on their own, right, is the coolest thing ever. Like as I said earlier, I was just, on a student spotlight call with Jackie, and like, you know, Jackie moved to the United States 3 years ago, right? She's a nurse, right? She didn't know how real estate worked in this country. She didn't have a credit score in this country. She didn't have anything, right? She just moved here 3 years ago and has learned not only how to be a nurse and is a practicing MP, but she's also now a real estate investor on her third rental property, right? And like, I think about it, it's like, what you've done to this point growing up in the United States is impressive,
Right.
right? What you've done, getting into this country 3 years ago is mind-boggling, right? And just seeing people realize the potential that they have is the coolest thing ever, right? It's like no one ever has to mention my name, no one ever has to mention Rental Property Pro, but if I can see that you've realized the potential and built confidence in what you have the capability of doing, that's all that matters. That's the coolest thing ever.
Well, you are truly gifted at inspiring others, including myself. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Now, anyone who is listening, who is ready to take action, what is the best? How can they find Rental Property Pro?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a couple ways, obviously, we'll give Jen a link to drop
I
into
have a link already. Yep.
everything great. Rentalproppro.com is the easiest way to go and, check out everything that we offer, watch a couple videos, testimonials, whatever you need. And there's a sign up link on the website as well, too. But the easiest way is just click the link underneath the video or the audio that you guys are listening to. That makes it easy.
Perfect. And you heard me give a badassery bestowment at the beginning. Do you have a badassery bestowment, just a little nugget that you can share with the listeners?
Badassery bestowments. I would say, guys, if you're, for a lot of us, we're starting this journey or we're somewhere at the very beginning of this journey. And remember, it is about the journey, not the finish line. The ups and the downs, the sideways, the rain, the shine, that's what it's all about. And if you don't appreciate to love the journey, then either you're not going to make it to the finish line or the finish line is not going to feel that good, right? Like that everyday journey is a blast and learn to love it because that's truly what it's all about. And I always, I have this in my home gym. I have this thing above my squat rack, and it says, you know, here's to the journey and the pain that it brings, right? And just enjoy it, right? Like it happens, and just know that it's going to happen. You're going to screw it up. It's going to hurt. It's going to suck. It's going to be part of it, but have fun with it and enjoy it.
And meet some pretty amazing people along the way. So,
Yep.
we are going to go into the second part of the podcast here, which is what makes John Blackburn a badass, which you are clearly. And I use the acronym BADASS, and the first letter is B for book. What is a book
B
that's,
for book.
yeah, what's a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
Probably one of the most influential books I've ever written is written by a man by the name of Viktor Frankl, and it's The Man's Search for Meaning.
Oh,
Even if you're a woman, don't take the man's search for meaning as it's so Victor was stuck in a concentration camp
wow.
during the war, and it's all about choices and mindset, right? He basically took the time while he was there to see how people responded to stress, see how their mindset and the decisions they make on a day-to-day basis either kept them alive or not. And, it's this understanding that every human being has a choice in everything that they do in life, and those choices make a massive difference, in his case, about life or death. And it's just a very moving book, and it's absolutely spectacular, and I encourage everyone to read it.
I love that. I love when people don't say real estate books,
Yep.
because real estate, yeah, whatever. But I
Yeah.
love those. So thank you for sharing that one. All right, the first A in badass is for advice. You've given us great advice. What's the
Yep.
best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice I ever received. I don't know if it was specifically advice in the moment, but it was something that I heard, and it was what started me on this journey of rental property investing. You know, Than Merrill.
Oh,
Than Merrill said that
he
his
is
biggest,
fantastic. Tastic, if I can say
fantastic.
it. Sorry.
You would come up with that. That is,
I love
that's
Than.
Jen Josey in a
Oh,
moment.
and P.S. Than Merrill, I want you on my podcast. Okay, keep going.
Than made this offhanded comment at an event that his biggest regret, and this is a guy that, currently owns a syndication company with like $2.5 billion of real estate under management, right? And his biggest regret was he didn't keep more of the properties that he bought. He sold them as or rehabs or what have you. And I remember him saying that. I was like, man, if Than's regretting this, I should probably take heed of that. So I would say that was my biggest kind of light bulb moment.
I wish I would have kept some of my original ones as
Yeah.
well. Ooh,
See?
gosh,
Yeah.
they could be making some cash flow right now. All right. The D in badass is for drive. What drives you to be successful?
Yeah. One, I've innate drive, right? So I think some people do. I just want to be successful. I love doing hard shit. That's part of my DNA as a human. But it's family, right? It's having the opportunity to support my family, take care of them, create a legacy for future generations. I mean, that's the biggest thing outside of my innate drive to be successful. Yeah.
Very nice. All right. The second A in badass is for aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So, what is a goal you are currently working on?
A goal that I'm currently working on is I want to find consistency in my acquisitions that I do on a daily, monthly, annual basis, right? So what I'm doing right now is I'm just trying to figure out a way that I can consistently buy somewhere between 70 to 100 properties a year. That's the goal. And we're getting
Wow.
there. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. And that's kind of one of my biggest aspirations and focuses for rental properties in
Yes.
particular. I got a whole litany of aspirations, but that one for rental properties is where my focus is.
Very good. All right. The first S in badass is for systems. What systems
Okay.
do you have in place to help you achieve success?
Oh man, I'm a huge list guy. I'm a huge software guy. So, for me, I sit down every morning and I got my yellow pad here. I got a strategy on what I need to attack every single day at the top of that list. And so that's kind of like the baseline, right? I also use an app called Strides, and what I'll do is at the end of every month or the beginning of every quarter is sit down and kind of lay out the biggest things that I want to change or adjust in my life on a day-to-day basis, whether it's health or food or business wise. And it's kind of like a checklist, right? But it helps keep me on track and I get to gamify it, right? So you have streaks like you went to the gym 6 days in a row, or you did your meditation for 100 days in a row. So kind of get to gamify it and you can't change anything you don't test and measure, right? And that's
Ooh.
what it all comes down to. So that's what I like to do. And then we have business systems and all that stuff, but those are the fun ones.
Streaks. I like that. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
keep my Wordle streak going. So,
Oh, all right.
and
Yeah.
connections. I'm like, ugh, I can't start my
Yeah.
day without it.
Yeah. So my significant other and I play this cool game. It's called Evergreen, if you ever get it. So
Oh. Hmm.
Evergreen is you get a question or a quiz every day. It takes like literally 3 minutes, and you don't get to see what they write, or they don't get to see what you write until you both respond. And there's some spicy questions in there, or like
Hmm.
some random stuff that you might not ever think to ask your spouse, but it'd be cool to know, or your significant other. So we play that every day, which is super cool.
I love that. I'm going to check that
Yeah.
out. Well, I could talk to
Yeah.
you all day, but the final S in badass is for success. What does success mean to John Blackburn?
Success is getting to choose how you spend your time. That's it.
That
Yeah.
is so well said. It's not about riches. It's not anything like that. It's about spending your time. And I got to go back to the apps here for a second. Every morning it's a kind of a journaling app, and it's things that you're
Mhm.
grateful for. And typically my husband's, but I got to say, John Blackburn, you have been on my app a few times lately because I am
Thank you.
truly grateful to you for allowing me to put my coaching hat back on, to be exposed to this amazing program that you have with Rental Property Pro, which there is going to be a link down at the bottom of this video or in the podcast notes, which is an affiliate for Rain, by the way. So click my link. Because you heard it here first, folks. But I am truly grateful for you. I'm grateful for your time. I know the community is so grateful for everything that you are teaching everyone. I learn from you every day. So, John, thank you so much for being here and sharing your badassery today. I truly appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I love coming and hanging out with you, Jen. You're so much fun to hang out with, talk to, and inspiring in yourself. So thank you very much. And I hope to be back. Maybe it's the start of season 7. We'll
That's
just
right.
keep it a thing.
Yeah.
Start every season.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, John. And that is all. Thank you for listening. And we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josey by visiting therealjenjosey.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.